The QPR podcast is sponsored by Excel Environmental, a pest control company based in Northolt and the South East. They provide for all your pest control needs, along with bird control, hazardous waste removal and ground maintenance. And they're Rangers fans, so if you call them on 0845 11 666 11, mention our podcast for a 10% discount.
QPR, Response Rangers are on the up and up. QPR, now we're heading for European Cup.
Welcome to another edition of Open All Hours, the QPR podcast. My name is Paul Finney. I'm hosting tonight because David Fraser couldn't make it. So anyway, tonight we have fellow podcaster, founder, not joined with, but founder. The reason where I got that from is Chris Charles from BT Sport.
Yeah, hello.
Is that it?
Yeah, hello. Hi.
Nothing else?
No.
Okay.
Do it like Steve Wright's show.
You.
Ow!
Do you know, I met him once. He's a very strange individual. That's all I'm saying. That's coming from me. Cram's t-shirt. Well, you never cease to surprise. We should do a thing every week with your t-shirt. What band you're going to wear this week? I like that, by the way.
Do you?
I remember them. I was talking about Eddie and Sex Fiend earlier on, and how when I was younger I used to play them, and now I play them, I just think, God, I used to listen to that shit. They're awful. But you can still listen to Bauhaus.
Yeah.
Anyway, Clive Whittingham from Loaf for Words.
Good evening.
How are you?
Is it terrific? Yeah, I'm really enjoying myself so far.
How's your Bauhaus knowledge, Clive?
What's your favourite band, Clive?
Pass.
Never heard of them. Very good.
What was the last CD you bought?
What was the last record? Is it Celine Dion or whatever she's called?
It's power ballads, me, isn't it? So it's Awful Taste and Meatloaf and things like that. So
Did you like? I bet you brought to Pow, didn't you? You brought their album.
pass.
You did. You brought their album. You did.
Move on.
Oh God, really? No, seriously. Did you buy? Do you like Carol Decker?
Once a month we go to the Electric Ballrooms in Camden and dance around to power ballads until 2 in the morning.
Ultimate Power?
Yeah.
Oh, my mate runs that club.
You haven't been introduced yet.
Sorry.
Technically, you don't exist.
The mystery voice game.
Paul, it's my first day. Just let me off. You know, it's like I'm new.
And listeners, that was God.
Really? Can we start asking for stuff?
Yeah, like stop famine, world peace, decent centre forward. Anyway, and we're also joined by Matt O'Brien. At last, a name that I can say.
How are you doing, Paul?
I'm all right. Well, you should know. We've been sitting in the pub for the last
That's
hour.
true. Yeah, man, it's good to meet you. And you boys. Hello.
It's good to hear that already. It's good to meet this. And sorry, and you, what do you do for a living? Sorry.
I work in advertising. Come up with ideas to sell people products they don't need or want or generally like.
David Fraser, you hearing this for the podcast? Could be handy.
Yeah. I can help people sell flowers as well, if that comes in handy.
I never ever talk about funky flowers, funky flower events, co.uk ever on this podcast. You'll never hear me mention we did Charlie Dawson's wedding ever.
Or that other florist in Harrow.
I feel really bad about that. I should apologise to them because I feel that they might have thought I was taking the I wasn't, and I wish they'd come on the podcast so we can talk Rangers because obviously. I want to do a florist.
Why don't you send him some flowers? Say sorry.
No, as a florist, the worst thing someone can do is send flowers. It's almost mafia-like.
Anyone would think you're trying to avoid discussing our dramatic draw.
I haven't finished yet, but what I want to do, I want to do 3 or 4 podcasts before I die.
Ladies and gentlemen,
on my
the
bucket list.
Show.
And
I haven't finished yet.
Yeah, exactly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a podcast with florists. I think it'd be great,
yeah.
And it could be blooming marvellous. Oh God, I used to like
nailed it.
Anyway, right.
Told you it's the Flodcast.
Clive is already banging his head off the microphone. So, Clive, have I got to thank anyone, Gabriel, by the way, or any sponsorship kind of thing before we start?
Probably read the Twitter thing out. David likes that, doesn't he?
Oh yeah, we're on Twitter as the new QPR pod. Clive's on Twitter as Lawful Words. I'm on Twitter as Paul5969. Chris Charles on Twitter as
Chris Charles 101. I think it's just at QPR Pod for the podcast.
And Matt, you're on Twitter as?
I am. I'm mob-handed, all caps, as if someone's shouting it.
I like that.
I know. I'd like to make a
too
statement.
Cool for the podcast.
Yeah. Or too loud, maybe.
I like that. Anyway,
yeah.
Or you can go to QPR, and we're on Facebook, and you can email us in any way you want, and abuse us in every way you want, but just make sure it's all to David Fraser. Right, Clive. We were there Saturday. By the way, how cold is your feet after Saturday? My feet were frozen.
Yeah, it's odd to sit at the back of an away end 35 rows off the front and still be getting absolutely pelted
Mad,
with
wasn't it?
snow and whatever else it was. Yeah, it was unpleasant.
Strange old ground.
Unpleasant.
Worse than Oldham. Anyway, give us your thoughts on Saturday because I want to hear them.
Well, in those conditions, it's obviously difficult to play football, even if you are good at football, which QPR and Bolton are not, as we have seen repeatedly this season. So it was a poor game on a poor pitch in bad weather. Result almost at random, isn't it? I was thinking, apart from the 2 Fulham games and maybe MK Dons at home this year, I reckon every result we've had could easily have been one of the other 2 outcomes. So every game we've won could easily have been a draw or a defeat. Every game we've lost, apart from the 2 Fulham games, could easily have been a draw or a win. It's just how the Championship is. It's just lots of sort of mediocre teams bumping into each other. Even though Bolton are bottom of the league, obviously very poor. And how fat is Emil Heskey? Obviously a poor team. But they've only lost 3 times at home. So
Is
yeah,
that right?
Yeah, they've only lost
God.
3 times at home this year.
Okay.
You could kind of see why. It was just Championship bumping into each other. The result could have been drawn out of a hat almost. Obviously nice to equalise in the last minute, but the only player on the pitch was really who looked good and mastered the conditions. Actually, I'll row back from that slightly. The only player on the pitch really was Zach Clough, who I thought just looked absolutely amazing.
Yeah, apparently we were looking at for a while.
Well, I'm amazed that Bristol. He nearly went to Bristol City for £2 million in January. I can understand why it's that little because Bolton are skint, but I can't understand why there's not somebody a bit better than Bristol City having a look. But I thought, from a QPR point of view, Karate or whatever we're calling him this week, Nasser looked great when he came on. He decent first touch. Dangerous balls into the box. Didn't look like he was that troubled by the conditions, whereas every other player on the pitch just either looked fed up or can't play in the rain.
I don't know. I thought it was a truly awful game of football. It was a brutalisation of the beautiful game as we know it.
Yeah.
If any people will say, "Oh, just moaning for the sake of it,"
Difficult to play in those conditions.
it is massively difficult. It was difficult to watch in them conditions.
Yeah.
It has to be said. And I have no idea why I had that big mesh between us and a lot of empty seats in case the seats got angry and attacked us. I don't know, but that was very bizarre.
I'm more angry about a whole tier of very dry seats under the roof, completely empty and unused behind us, while we were in the lower tier getting
Maybe that's all part of the ploy.
But anyway, I thought, to be fair, they're not a good side. We weren't a good side, and you can tell our season's kind of over. And Matty Phillips was more surprised than I was when he scored because I don't know what their goalkeeper was doing, but it was quite bizarre. But now we've played them twice and we've beat them and got a draw. That doesn't look so bad. As Tony Fernandes said, they beat us 4-0 the start of the season a few years ago, so we'll come on to that later on. But it's interesting, isn't it? Because it's like, what do you think of these, getting away from the game itself, Clive, these new grounds? Because Bolton was one of them ones, isn't it? It's
detestable, horrible, vile, soulless, rubbish, evil places.
That was Reebok, wasn't it? That was the Reebok.
Yeah,
that's it.
There used to be
That was the
Bloomfield.
first step towards the American.
The Bloomfield was black,
yeah.
but they're Boundary Park, weren't they?
Yeah.
Miles and miles out of Bolton,
right.
in a corner of a retail. But why on earth would?
Yeah,
I don't understand how people go there every week, particularly when the team. I know it's your team and whatever. I always think if QPR ended up in somewhere like that, I'd really struggle.
I thought the Road
to
was
go.
better because I remember Steve Morrow scored that volley from about 35
That's all
yards.
Steve Morrow did. That was his debut, I think.
It was indeed. That was a better atmosphere and a better ground, and it was a better view.
It was a horrible ground, but it was in the middle of the town. It was terraces. Yeah, when it comes to ground, I'm very sort of old-fashioned taste and whatever. I don't want us to leave Loftus Road, as I've said before.
Interesting. Maybe come on to that later on.
Rotherham's ground that we went to recently was quite nicely designed, steep sides, and creates an atmosphere and whatever. But most new grounds are just vile places in the middle of retail parks. I don't know why you would go there every week unless your team was amazing, which, by the laws of only one team can win the league, only one team's amazing every year, isn't it? So why would you go to a retail park miles out of Bolton to watch Bolton?
Do you remember when Darlington got a new ground a few years ago? That was quite bizarre.
Still there. It just sits there, nothing in it.
It's weird, isn't it? Just anyway. There's a great Twitter account which is you can visit all these old grounds and you can look at them all. And I would like to say I remember the most of them, but I went to a lot of them in the 90s and I was quite drunk and don't remember jack anything. Anyway, also about Saturday, good that Matt Phillips scored. Game probably best forgettable. But Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank did not. Did you watch Jimmy on the sides, by the way, Clive, on Saturday? He was very animated. It's probably the most animated I've seen him since he's been at Rangers.
Was he suit or tracksuit?
I think it's tracksuit, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, just waterproof anything he could lay his
great
hands
game.
on.
I like
that thing with the elements, the coldest ground ever with the rain, and they've no roof.
I could imagine he was very frustrated. I imagine he is frustrated watching, because I can't imagine QPR are currently playing the way he wants them to play. I mean, it must be frustrating for him because there's no way he trains all week for them to play like that, is there? He doesn't.
Of course not.
Let's put in a really shocking performance and just boot it down the field and don't track back with your man and don't cover your fullback. There's no way he's saying all of that, so it must be frustrating for him to stand there. It's a tough job, QPR. Like, more experienced managers than Hasselbank have been eaten alive by this job. Mark Hughes.
I agree, and I feel sorry for Perch because he's had more assists than anyone else in this league, but in completely the wrong direction. And the fullback situation just is the worst I can remember as a fan.
The fullbacks aren't helped by the fact that they've got two lazy wingers in front of them.
Is that what it is, do you think?
No, it's not. They're both crap.
Oh, okay.
But having Phillips and Hoylett in front of you, basically phoning it in, doesn't help you as a
Are we being hard on Perch? Are we being hard on them?
A little. They're poor.
Okay.
They are. I'm surprised how poor Perch is. I'm not surprised how poor Konchesky is. The Leicester guy that does the Leicester write-ups for Loft for Words had been saying 4 years ago he was their worst player. 4 years later, here comes Konchesky for us. But it doesn't help. I mean, against Fulham, I wasn't on last week, but against Fulham, basically Phillips waved Garbett through, so Perch always had two players, one of which is Garbett, who's decent.
He's so inconsistent, and his tracking back is really bad.
He just doesn't track back at all.
He doesn't at all.
Just doesn't track.
Oh, sorry, I'm not close enough to the microphone. First day at work again, sorry. Yeah, no, he's not. He's one of my favourite players, like without a doubt. I think over the last couple of seasons, I've enjoyed watching him, but he definitely doesn't really put in the full ticket for me.
Even while he's putting in this mediocre effort, his goals and assists tally is still quite decent.
Yeah.
And I think he's one of those players that when he leaves will sort of reflect on it. Oh, he wasn't as bad as we made out him to be.
Definitely, because we'll go somewhere great. I think
But there's no denying at the moment he was never that committed defensively. But there's no denying at the moment he's just basically abdicated all responsibility for that.
Yeah, and I think it shows. I think it's his body language is there, isn't it? I think it's always one of them ones. But I still enjoy watching him. Definitely
with the ball.
Yeah, when he's got it.
Be interested if we did turn down bids for him though. That would seem a bit strange. When you got the young lad on the bench who came on and did a much better job, in my humble opinion. I know Philip was still goal to goal, but as a winger, we seem to be lacking something. I don't know. Do you not think this, Chris, as well? Maybe we'll get against Brentford. I don't know what's going to... We just need something to happen. We just need to click. We just need to kick into... Something... All season we're waiting there sitting going, it's going to happen, and it doesn't happen time after time, but something needs to happen for that team to kick in this year, because everyone says they're an average side. There's some damn good players in that, and I think it's not right to call them average. There's some good players in our side, but why can't we click? What is it? It was into you, Chris.
Oh, was it? Oh, sorry.
I lost myself halfway through.
Yeah, okay, sorry, I forgot about. Well, I think it's quite difficult when we've had we had a change of manager. I think we've got to basically ride out the rest of this season and wait till the summer. Get rid of the rest of the dead wood. Bring in the players that Hasselbank wants to bring in. I mean, I think it didn't help on Saturday again that without Forlan. I think we do miss him a lot. I think, as well as being, comes into the podcast one night with the kids, goes visiting hospital the next day, is learning how to become a barrister in a coffee shop. He's also probably our most important player. And I think he sort of makes the midfield tick. I think he can also turn defence into attack. And I don't know, without him we seem a little bit bereft of ideas. I don't think it's just him. I also take the point about Phillips, being a bit lazy, not tracking back, but also a lot of people were on his back the other day saying he didn't try. But I mean, he tried enough to score a goal with the last kick of the match, which he had to make for himself, even if the keeper was in no man's land. But so I don't buy that he just can't be bought. I think he's that sort of player. I mean, even when he scored that 40-yard wonder goal, I think he just sort of drifts in and out of games. You don't see him for a bit, and then all of a sudden he can just produce.
I think if anyone who went to the Blackburn game before the transfer window would beg to differ in that, but carry on.
Yeah, no, I get the fact that he's, I get the fact that he doesn't put in 100%, shall I say, but maybe he's been like that since he came here. I don't ever remember him, like tearing back to cover the fullback.
If he was consistently good, he wouldn't be playing for QPR. It's the old
That's
Tarat, it's the
true,
Tarat
that's
thing, isn't
true.
it? If Tarat wasn't a moron, he would never have ended up at He would have never ended up at
Yeah,
QPR. If Phillips tracked back, he wouldn't be playing for QPR.
I know you guys don't want to hear it, but should I tell you my highlight of Saturday on the way back in the train?
No.
Go on. Was this guy who was to... Hang on. That's right, that's left. Yeah, to the left. I just was talking to this girl, and it was not like that. Just talking about he was in showbiz, and she was in showbiz, and having a wee yarn about things and things you get in the train from
Who was
Manchester.
it? Bruce Forsyth?
No idea. And just up the way, like he worked for CBeebies or something.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what he worked for CBeebies. Yeah, that's right. And he halfway through the journey back, he then started talking about how he had met Katie Price's implants in her house. Her breast implants.
Yeah, I know.
No, didn't need clarifying. Definitely didn't need clarifying.
Just say. But he then said, "It's okay. They were sterilised before I handled them," which is very bizarre, and very strange. Yeah, really.
Well, out of the it was an out of body experience.
Yeah, it was her old implants, and she obviously
kept them.
Yeah. It was like, and just the way he said it,
incredible.
and okay, I made sure they were sterilised or whatever before I handled them. But I was thinking, and she kept saying, "No, look, this is my implants. That's what they were." Just like they were in me. And it's
Brilliant Katie Price impression, by the way.
Yeah,
it's almost like she was in the room
I don't
with
know.
her implants.
But that was probably the highlight of the day. That's how bad the trip up. The trip wasn't too bad actually. In fairness, Manchester nice bit, but a strange conversation, wasn't it?
I think it's just
That's what makes away days.
You want to, some of the conversations we were party to, I was in an effort to save money, went on the train to Preston instead of Manchester.
Yeah, I read this on Twitter. Go on.
Did not do our research on that one at all. 5,500 Sheffield Wednesday fans and an EDL march in Preston on Saturday. We wish we'd paid extra to go to Manchester.
Yes.
Yeah.
no, but I think the thing is, for years we've been
Well done, Chris. Bring it back.
we've been craving a bit of stability.
That's brilliant. That is, by the way, Clive. I just got the image.
Story of my life.
For years we've been craving a bit of stability. We've either been, for the most part, fighting relegation, and I think now we've got it. No one really knows what to do, including the players. We're sort of in this sort of no man's land. We've got 40 points now, which I think, realistically, we're not going to go down. We're definitely not going to go up. But what I'd like to see is now's the time, I think, to start taking, getting Konchesky out of the team, getting some of the youngsters in. What baffles me is why Young Suk Young went to Charlton on loan, and how 3 successive managers have suddenly found that a player who was, I thought, one of our best players is suddenly no one rates him.
Well, I guess the answer is twofold, really. One, what you said is that three different managers who see him every week in training have decided he's not their left back. So whatever we see and think, because I think he's our best left back. Whatever we see and think must be wrong, because professionals, like I say, see him. But also, we've got 5 left backs on the books, and if we're thinking about financial fair play, obviously nobody wants Traore, and why would they?
I remember him.
You can't get rid of Konchesky because you can't terminate a season-long loan, and even if you do, you still have to pay the wages. I mean, you can all debate about what a bad signing Konchesky was on loan for the season. Robinson's presumably going to be our left back, but he's still working his way back from injury.
I was just going to ask that: is he still unfit?
Presumably, well, I'm making
He's
presumptions.
not playing for the under-21s or EDS squad.
Kapika, we presume, isn't quite good enough for championship yet. Isn't trusted. So
but done quite well at Orient.
I'd play him instead of Konchesky, but again.
So I'm just saying.
Which leaves Yun, who as an expensive player that somebody might want. We do have to comply with.
Is it expensive? Do you think?
I bet he's not on what I'm on. So we do have to comply with FFP this year, otherwise we'll be under a transfer embargo sort of towards the end of next season or the season after, which are going to be big seasons for us. We need to be promoted then. We don't need to be, taking the team apart.
FFP, but you've still got Sandro, you've still got a lot of people.
Exactly. So we had
FFP could still hammer us if they, regardless of whether we put him to loan.
I think people forget. Well, no, but you loan him to Charlton to get some of the wages off the book. That's what they're trying to do. That's why Sandro's out on loan, Corker's out on loan.
It depends how much they're paying the wages.
Exactly. Presumably Charlton aren't paying nothing, otherwise there would be no point.
How long have you been a QPR fan, Clive? Carry on.
Where on the falling point, I was going to say the Tozer thing has really hamstrung them this year, because they did recognise in the summer that we're nowhere near as good without Falling in midfield, which is pretty obvious to anyone that's watched us. They signed Tozer to replace him, and I don't think anybody could really have anticipated just how bad Tozer has been. Consider, he was a reasonable player in a promoted Watford team. It's not unfeasible that he would be able to come in and do a sort of Falling role, but he's just been, apart from half an hour against Ipswich, so bad, and that's killed them, because now it's either Falling or we don't play well.
How long was this contract? 2 years?
Well, I made a mistake writing last week, said that he was only on loan, but he's not.
Angella's we paid
Angella's on loan.
We paid 1.5 million apparently as a loan fee for Angella plus his wages, allegedly.
No,
haven't heard that.
I heard that at the pub. Someone told me that at the pub. I could be wrong.
Well, it must be right. Must be right. But,
I said that to cover myself.
Tozer's contracted for next season, and it's easy to hammer the club and whatever. But like I say, you would have thought Tozer would have been better than this.
But they both
and then
look
we
good
wouldn't be so reliant.
But they
on
both
Falling.
look good for Watford, is your point, which I agree with. When they played for Watford, they didn't look bad players. I can see why we got them. It's just weird how why we bring them into the club. They don't become the players.
Well, how many players have we said that about? You come to QPR suddenly.
We'd stick Messi in goal and ruin them.
But he did look good against Ipswich, Tozer, and that was definitely his best game for us. But to be fair, for the large part of the game, Ipswich bypassed the midfield, and he had so much time.
Very true.
That, I think even I would have made a half-decent fist of it.
So he gets a start against Fulham on
the
the back of that, and suddenly Fulham turn up with 5 midfielders.
Yeah.
It's not quite the same.
No, quite. But
Carry on, Chris. You're doing well.
No. Yeah, thanks, Paul. Left backs. We haven't had a great history of signing them. You look at
Indoors and more nil. Bring them back.
Well, yeah.
Gino.
But we're the only club, Traore, I'm talking about, who could sign a player weeks after he's let in 8 goals. That was.
But the weird thing about him was that we had a chance of letting him go, and then we re-signed him again. That's the bit that gets me.
He always looked better to me when he played left wing rather than left back.
He always looked better to me when he was playing for somebody else.
Yeah.
But it's a weird one though, because he's probably a lot of money. What would you like to say? I'm sorry, Matt. We haven't been in the conversation a lot.
I'm listening heartily and learning, which is what I do most weeks.
So, Matt, you're going back. What do you think is the solution to our fullback problem? There's no pressure to fill this in. Just
the solution to our fullback problem is. I don't know. I don't actually know the technical answer, but I think, going back to what you were talking about, Chris, about how we played against Ipswich, everyone played well against Ipswich, and I think there's kind of, to the point, there's no galvanising players. And even when we had Austin, who is, that was like one of the best times at the club. When he played well, when he held the ball, when he was putting them goals in, you're like, okay, this is enough now to start seeing the team sort of get behind the ball, play really well. And it didn't happen. You know what I mean? It just didn't happen. And I think what we're lacking is leadership. And Falling does bring that leadership. He's good at that quarterback role. He can get that ball in easy. But I don't know. It sort of feels to me that they're lacking one big charge. And I think that's what you were saying when we need something good to happen. So what is that? What is that big charge, really?
Well,
the leadership points is a good point.
Yeah, that's what it feels to me.
What kind of, because I thought Anua would have a really good season this year as captain at centre half, which is his better position. A division lower. I've been really disappointed with him.
I'll put it out there that I don't think we've got that many natural leaders.
No, it's a quiet team. What was the home game the other week where there was
Fulham might be a good leader.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think he looks like a leader when he's on there. The game's definitely different.
I don't know if he's too nice. I don't think.
I think he's too fragile. I think that's part of it as well. I think when they go for him, it looks like they're going to break him, right?
And maybe there's that thing about having your best player, putting the added burden. Some people thrive on it, and some people it's not for them. We should have asked him, or should have got one of the kids.
Also, having your best player who can't play every game, because he can't. As much as he wants to. If you after 3 ACL, you can't play every championship game of a season.
But do you think there's something in there, not wanting to knock Les or any of that? But my friend who's a Liverpool fan says to me, QPR is a place where managers and players with attitude go to die because they can't find who's in charge, can't find the leadership. And I just wonder whether or not if you've got a big...
That is, I guess that's the idea.
A Liverpool fan said that.
A Liverpool fan said
that. Wow, okay.
Cheeky.
Yeah, but to be fair, though, that's quite...
Yeah.
Okay, I won't say too much.
That's what they're trying to get away from, isn't it? That is the perception. It's a place where, if you need a final payday and you can just come and sack it off. That is the perception. That is what they're trying to change.
I think QPR's problem is that we worry too much what other people think of us rather than doing the right thing and going back to basics and going back to what we made us successful for all them years. The whole social media side of it, very good team. They do things right. But sometimes I think that we get really paranoid about what things people say about us, what people think about us. For instance, tonight coming in here, I just put a wee tweet on saying, like, on the way to the podcast, tubes are how people commute, I'll never know. Started an argument. Do you know what I mean? Like, ended up being about players and stuff. And
you can start an argument in a phone box, mate, to be fair. Even if you're not meaning to.
See, this is harsh press. Anyway, we're playing Sheffield Wednesday tomorrow night, and Clive's going there on his really expensive ticket. And let's talk to Lee Cook and remember his time at Sheffield Wednesday, playing for QPR. Lee, thank you for coming on the podcast as always. Tomorrow night we're away to Sheffield Wednesday. When you've played for Rangers, what's it like playing in the ground that big, with that big pitch and the big stand and stuff? Is it daunting?
It's a big pitch there, very big pitch. I don't know if that suits us, to be honest, but yeah, it's a very, very large pitch, and it's a good atmosphere to play there. They've always had good support there, so that used to be a ground I used to look forward to playing in, that one.
Okay, right. Over to Chris.
Hi Lee, how you doing?
Hi mate.
Yeah, I was just going to say we were talking earlier on. Let's go straight into this about our fullbacks and how we don't rate them that much. But I was saying to you as a left winger, how important was it for you to have good fullbacks behind you?
Well, they kind of make you really. They need to open up and give you the ball. If they're a fullback that don't like to play to their winger, then what chance have you got as a wide player? You need one that's going to play to your strengths, really. Like, for instance, like with me, when I used to have Marcus Bignot behind me, whenever I was wide, he would always give me the ball. As soon as he got it, he'd give it to me straight away.
Yeah.
And then obviously, if you come inside as a wide player, then that's your signal for them to overlap. So they're a massive part of how you play on a match day. I've played with some very bad fullbacks, and they do affect the way you play. So it's vitally important.
Who was that then?
Can't say, mate. It weren't down Rangers. I went down there. It was elsewhere in my career, but yeah.
I know.
Probably one of the best ones I actually played with was at Watford, called Paul Robinson, a lad called. He's still playing now, actually. He was a great left back to play with.
Going the other way, Lee, from the fullback's point of view, how important is it for a winger to sort of come back with the opposition fullback if there's a defensive situation? Because we've had this discussion about fullbacks tonight, and we sort of, while we don't think either of our fullbacks are playing particularly well, there's a sort of consensus that the wingers aren't really helping them out a lot, particularly in the Fulham game. Yeah,
I mean, it is important, but a lot of the time people make excuses for the fullbacks, and I blame the wide players. But for me, when I was a young winger learning my trade, that part of the game is something you have to learn. And as I grew older, I got a lot better at it. But the ones we've got down there in a minute are experienced, so they should know everything, what they're supposed to do. As the years have gone on, a fullback's job has been, going forward, has become more involved in the game. For me, I think it's the easiest position on the pitch, the fullback. You get much more time on the ball, a lot more decision-making time to pick your pass, when to go, when not to go. But I just think these days, they're ultra fit because they're up and down. And, yeah, I mean, defensively, some of them are a bit frail these days, even the best ones, like Kyle Walker and that, he gets pulled up for his defensive duties. But I think as a wide player, you've got to help your fullback out. That's a foregone conclusion. But these days, it's often the wide player looks after the opposite fullback. That's how it works.
Hi Lee, it's Matt here. We were just talking about leadership as well, and how we thought that kind of the fullback issue might have been a kind of overflow to do with no solid leadership on the pitch at QPR at the moment.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that? Do you think there's a natural leader there? I mean, we were talking about obviously Austin going and seeing these big names walk off. Do you think there's the leadership within the club at the moment, or should the leadership come from the players at all?
I think we're missing one. I've got a similar problem at the club I'm at now at EC. There's not one voice on the pitch where you can always hear. We have a captain, and he's like Paul Reed. He used to play for Barnes and stuff, and he's he's a good captain, but there's not loud enough voice on the pitch. And I think that Rangers, from what I've seen so far, there's not been that character in the team, and you do need them.
So who was your best captain at QPR then when you were there?
The best captain?
Yeah.
To be fair, when I was there, the first stint I was there, we had a few voices and they weren't necessarily the captains. I mean, Danny Shutu was a big presence in the team with his loudness at the back. I mean, he used to intimidate people in the tunnel.
He would.
I mean, I've seen him scare the life out of people in that tunnel. I mean,
really?
Only they knew he was a gentle giant, but he used to come out and really be vocal and really
Brilliant.
scare the opposition, especially the forwards in the team. Obviously, we had Birchie. He weren't captain really, but he was a big voice in the middle of the park, and you do need it. It's just a massive part of the team because it just G's the other players up, and a voice in football's huge. Even if it's half a yard to the right, half a yard to the left, it makes a massive difference.
And okay, another issue I was going to speak to you about is team spirit back in the teams when you were playing. I mean, what was the dressing room like then? I mean, was it? I'm imagining it was quite a big positive atmosphere in there, good vibe.
Yeah, I mean, I've done an interview the other day. I don't know if you see it on QPR Live, and I mentioned the fact that these days, this day and age, if you like the top two divisions, you don't really see 4 or 5 local boys from that area playing in that team.
Yeah,
and these days, obviously with the foreign influx and all that kind of stuff, you don't really see it much. I mean, that team we had back then, we had probably 4 QPR supporters in it and a couple of other Londoners in it. And the team spirit was massive. We all got on great. We socialised together. I've not had socialising with players like that since them days. I mean, I still meet Martin on a regular basis. I meet Mark on a regular basis. And we go out together. We'll go out for dinner, and I know their wives, their families, their kids. And then, since then, I've not really had that. So that team spirit was huge back then. And I think that's why that first season after we went up into the Championship under Ollie, I think we come 11th. With probably one of the worst budgets in the division at the time. And that goes to show, we had decent players, but our team spirit was very hard to beat.
But do you think part of this lack of team spirit, or okay, not lack of team, but the lack of players socialising with one another and doing all the stuff you just said, do you think part of that is the culture of, they got a lot of money, they live behind, 20-foot high walls, and I don't know, I just sort of get that vibe, not for QPR, but just everybody generally, that footballers tend to be a bit more detached, even maybe from their own teammates.
No, I completely agree. I mean, my final years at Rangers is when I really started to see it. 2012, I think it was, I left. But the changing room was just so divided. I'd never seen anything like it.
You're joking?
Obviously, in the last 3 years, I think it's got better down there. Definitely. I mean, from what I've seen at the minute, they seem a decent set of lads that get on with each other. But
yeah,
it's just not clicking at the minute. It's just not clicking on the pitch. I mean, we haven't really got a style of play at the minute. I mean, I was at the Ipswich game the other week and I thought we played really well, and I thought that looks promising.
Yeah, we all did.
And then the following game, it was just diabolical, and it was back to the old way, losing 3-0 down at half time to Fulham, and I was just in shock.
Well, I know we were. I mean, again, we were sort of talking about that, and part of the reason we think is because Ali Forlan wasn't playing, and he sort of makes the team tick. But then when he came on the podcast last week, he did point out that he was in the team that got beat 4-0 by Fulham last year. So as not, generally him being not, but also again, that thing with the Fulham game, it almost looked as if the Fulham players, every time, the last 3 or 4 times we played them, know how big a game it is, and the QPR players have got no idea. And maybe that, and it also it translates to the fans as well a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they're a sort of bogey side, but as they've gone into that game, I think losing the first goal and then the second one in quick succession, then obviously the heads are straight down, aren't they? And I mean, the week before, for 45 minutes, we just dominated the game, so everyone was upbeat. And it's just dealing with it the other way. I think when we go a goal down, it's as if we've got no chance now and it's game over sort of thing. But that's what Jimmy's got to install that into the team. And I said the other day, it's his play time for him now. He's got to play with the team until the end of the season and then work out what he needs in the summer, because we're not going up, we're not going to go down. It's time for him to stir the pot and have a little look and see what he needs and just play with tactics and formations and see what he feels best. Because when you go Loftus Road, it's such a small, tight pitch. you can really intimidate teams when they come down there, and I think he's still got to learn that the QPR way.
Yeah, I agree 100% with that, mate.
Lee, going back to your playing time towards the end of your first spell at the club, you were in a particularly poor QPR team, but you played well enough to get yourself the move that you got. But you almost carried that team, and I wonder, when you were looking around the dressing room at that time and the state the club was in, how you sort of motivated yourself and played that well when the team was was on its knees at that time.
Yeah, I just think when you're younger, I mean, it's no fear. At 23, 24 years old, I felt quite a big responsibility that season, and every game I went into, I felt, right, I've got to, I really want to do this for the boys and help them as much as I can. And that was a part of why Big Knot used to give me the ball so much, because at the time I was on form. I could have been playing against anyone I'd have fancied it. But yeah, it's just confidence in the team, and at the minute there ain't none in it, nowhere.
And
no confidence at all.
The Fulham move obviously didn't work out injury wise. Can you the manner of your departure and paying the signing on fee back and everything was the thing that got the publicity. Why didn't that move work out? What was the injury problem that you obviously sort of went there with? I just wonder why it didn't work out.
It kind of rolled over near the end of the last season at Rangers. I tore a cartilage in my knee, and basically with the cartilage, surgeons try and take as little out as possible because you need a lot in there as possible. And he didn't take enough out. So basically what was happening was it was still catching. And then the last pre-season game, we had Arsenal away first game of the season, and it was my last pre-season game. We had Aldershot, and I tore it even more. And they had to take a lot of it out. And it was a 10-month injury, and then everything's just stemmed from there. Then bone on bone arises, and then a defect come into my bone. So it was amazing how it happened, really. I mean, it all started from an overstretched groin where I tore a little cartilage, and they're the worst injuries to have, I think, because you need these days they haven't got the replacement of the cartilage yet. Apparently, it's coming out in the next year or two. So I've been told. It's the same thing Ledley King had, basically. Every time you compact in your knee, your bones are hitting each other because you've not got the sponge in between protecting it. Yeah,
and you obviously came back to the club for a second spell, but did you feel that, was it frustrating that you couldn't get to the sort of heights that you did at the end of your first spell, having come back to
it was, I mean, it affects you massively. I mean, they told me at 30 to retire, but I was 29 going into 30. But the operation, the surgeon said to me, this will give you another 7 years if you do the rehab right. And since then, I've not been injured, and I've played, the last 3 seasons of 40-odd games or something. So, for them to say, oh yeah, I think you should call it a day, and then I've gone on and still play. I went to Leyton Orient in League One and had 2 seasons there. I mean, I'm disappointed, obviously, that it happened to me, but it happens in football. You can't think about it too much. Everyone says to me, what if you didn't get injured? What if? You just don't know. You know what I mean? You don't know.
Yeah, it was an odd time to sort of come back. Compared to the club you left, which was Skin, you then came back at the time that money was being cobbed around. Like, what was the difference coming back? It sounds like the dressing room actually wasn't nearly as good the second time around. I just wonder what it was like.
I mean, it was under Dowie. It was good. I mean, we were flying at the time. I think we were 5th or 6th. I mean, we'd only been about 7 or 8 games in, but we'd won 5 games or something. It was a good tight-knit squad, and he added to the team, and it was I thought it was a good side that year. I thought we had a good chance of actually getting in the playoffs, but obviously, I think we had 4 different managers that year through sackings and all that kind of stuff. I mean, everyone's seen the documentary of the 4-year plan, and that first year of that, it was a circus, wasn't it? I mean, it was madness the first year.
I think there's.
They'd done what they was going to say, but it could have been done sooner. It could have been done sooner. We could have been up a lot sooner, and it's just a shame we've yo-yoed. I mean, I said the other day on that QPR Live that I thought as soon as we went up, that would be us. We'd be in there for a while, with the owners and that we've got and the money behind us. So it's just a shame we've yo-yoed the last couple of years, and now we seem to be stuck and back where we were, say 7-8 years ago when I left. That's how it seems, but we just need to pick up again, and I think the board are in it for the long run, and things will improve. I like Hasselbank. I think he's going to be a decent manager for us, but he just needs time.
Right, unfortunately, we've come to the end of the show, but You know what? Oh no, I'm sorry. I can listen to you. Next time, please come into the studio and we'll have a proper chinwag and talk about, because there's some great stories in there. But you know what? I look forward to the day when I see more QPR players in the Crown and Sceptre having a wee drink with the fans. If you know what I'm saying, mate. The last time we saw each other.
And I was ill that day as well. I was very ill.
That's not a surprise.
I was in the box, and it was all free drinks. I made most of the red wine.
Really? No one noticed you got away with that one big time.
And I was supposed to go home afterwards, but I went out for a few jars. So, yeah, it turned out a good day in the end. And we played well, and then I ended up having a few jars. So
good on you, mate.
But tell you what, that's a QPR we love, big man. And listen, seriously, next time come into the studio, Lee. Seriously, thank you.
I will do.
That'd be great, mate.
Thanks, pal.
Mate.
Take care.
Cheers,
Bye.
bye. To be fair, you know, you won't see people like that in a few years in the pub getting drunk, will you? And maybe that's part of the problem with QPR, with the journey we've had.
Nobody gets a round of 12 Jaeger bombs for nobody in particular anymore.
Clive, we're not saying he was drunk, but yeah, I seen that. That was weird, wasn't it? Yeah. Anyway,
I thought we weren't going to talk about it.
Anyway, no, we're not. But it's just doesn't it show the difference in a small time how much we've changed the club. You know, it's just anyway. Maybe what Lee said, but like to him, Bertram, Gallen, all them players in the team who were local lads who loved the club. Yeah, and people say that we were crap back in them days, but we weren't. We were a good little side, punching above our weight in a lot of ways, in so many ways, and I'm proud of that side. Anyway, ours
phone, Paul.
I'm terrible. My phone manner is dreadful. You wouldn't guess. Right, Matt. Ours in this show. We're not going to start with you, Clive. Okay. I'm going to give you some time to think about it.
Got it. I need time to think. What should I say?
Well, we haven't. I'll tell you what. We haven't mentioned Tony's tweet yet, have we?
Yes.
Oh, good. No, Chris, that was supposed to be ours in the show. That's what
I thought that's what we were doing.
How the show works. I know you've been here for 5 years. Is we go around the table.
Sorry.
So, Chris, what's your ours end of the show?
Well, okay. Well, it wasn't going to be.
Then we're going to Clive. Go on then.
But yeah, I was going to talk about Ali Forlan and.
I'll do Tony's tweet.
You do Tony's tweet, and then maybe I'll add to Tony's tweet.
Yeah,
okay.
Go on.
No, I was just going to say Ali Forlan last week. I mean, I know I've touched it already, but just what a fabulous bloke he is. I mean, all those kids. I mean, people hopefully listen to the podcast. As Clive said before we came in, it's one of those podcasts you hear kids are going to be on, and you immediately think that's not going to go well. And I think we all thought that as well. But it actually went brilliantly. The kids asked some great questions. And his little boy was there. He was fun, and he just, you know, it's the second or third time he's been on and come in. So thanks to the club first of all for helping to sort it out, but thanks to him. And the next day he's at the hospital with Les at the hospital.
Visiting Alan Barnes.
Yeah, visiting Alan Barnes. The day after that, as we said, he's learned to be a barrister in this coffee shop. He serves in every day. I mean, this is a Premier League footballer who's not in there at the moment.
The weird thing is, I think my daughter has a new crush. This is so sad, and it's a bit awkward as a father. But it's like she has not stopped talking about Ali Forlan.
Listen, mate, I've got a crush on Ali Forlan as well. I've been a man love, I think.
Thank God I have no responsibility towards you.
But I think, you know, I'd like to have him on every week. And
He's brilliant.
We could call it a godcast.
And do you know what? What people talk about role models for kids and footballers these days, and and it is true. There's a lot of bad ones out there. What a great bloke he is.
Yeah,
for that
absolutely.
sort of thing.
He didn't have to do any of that.
No, he
didn't have to go to the hospital. Didn't have to come in here. Didn't have to come in here the time before that or the time before that. Doesn't have to make in his work in his mate's coffee shop. Could stay in his house with his 20-foot walls, which I bet he hasn't got anyway. So Ali, thank you.
But you know what? He gets QPR.
Yeah,
he gets it. He gets it.
There are still one or two around.
No, what you know. I mean, I'm kind of sorry about that already. I'm not saying the old. I don't think players. I'll just finish in this one. And then I'll go to my hour's end and I'll do predictions and he'll go through the window in kind of a heat of excitement. Is that I don't think players go out there deliberately to play poorly or play bad or whatever. Something's wrong, but I'm not saying we should go back to the Bertram, the Gallen and everything else does. But people like Ali Kerr were just maybe not in the past brought the wrong players.
Should we do Tony's tweet?
The right players. We brought the wrong
Tony's tweet.
Should we do
Clive,
Tony's tweet?
Do we have to? Because if you do this, I'm going to get absolutely hammered on Twitter tomorrow. But carry on.
Fine. Well,
I always get whoever says that anyone criticises.
You get hammered on Twitter anyway. So.
I know. I love old big head on my case.
Mute button.
God.
Such a valuable. Well, should we do Tony's tweet?
You can do it, but can I just say, if all big heads listen to this is Clive Whittingham saying this, not Finney, so don't hassle me. I've blocked you. Carry on.
Well, yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I think a lot of people at the club have tried to gently persuade Tony that the tweeting is not. It's not a positive thing. It's not doing him any favours, not doing us any favours, and he won't have it. And it is frustrating when you see things like that.
Was a strange
Has anyone got him a blog, like his own blog that he can just?
No, less, do less.
Okay, quickly. What was his thinking behind the comparison of the Bolton tweet, which is, I'm sure, is what he was.
I mean, the thing I would say is something. If you see some of the stuff he does get. Even during the match at Bolton on Saturday, it's not even over yet. We haven't lost, and some of the stuff he's getting, it must be quite hard not to respond to that. And there was a tweet about, "I wish you'd disappear like one of your planes."
That was disgusting.
Somebody actually tweeted him
sick.
that. So if you're getting that on your phone, it must be hard not to respond to that. Which is why I think he just shouldn't be on there, because then you respond to it as he did in the heat of the moment.
Yeah,
and
to be
he's
fair,
meant to be the chairman of the club. The other point is, the players have now have a strict code of conduct about what they're not allowed to talk about club business on social media, basically. So,
what do you mean since Joey Barnes left?
Since Joey Barnes left, yeah. So that should probably apply to the chairman as well. I just don't think he doesn't achieve anything. His point of view is that it's a great way to reach thousands and thousands of people. And if you appear at a fans forum, there's 60 people there and 100 people watching on YouTube. That is a fair point, I guess. But he doesn't achieve anything positive, does it, for him or the club? It causes problems for the manager, maybe with that promotion is everything tweet that caused problems for the manager. It causes problems for the media team. It causes problems for Lee
Every
Hughes.
time that ding goes in there, they might just think, "Oh God, here we go again." I mean, what he should do is run it by them. I mean,
it should just come off, because
a part of that tweet said. It said, "We stayed up in the first season. Next manager out, a sways together. Hat was less than successful." I mean, to be honest, I didn't really understand what he was
that hat was less than successful.
yeah.
to be fair, I'm not going to criticise anyone's spelling on Twitter. But
do you see my point a bit? Even if he was on there sensibly, the stuff that he will get inevitably through being on there
Can't win.
He can't
win.
He can't win, and it is always going to provoke a response, isn't it?
He should be on there to sell it as a sales tool, if not just to say this is the new, season ticket prices. It should just be using it as an outlet for stuff that's QPR based, not opinion based, because his opinion has got to be protected.
He's got. Is there any? I know David Gold uses it a bit, but I think Sullivan's son is the one for West Ham.
David Gold uses it quite.
But I don't think any other chairman go on and tweet as prolifically. I mean, I know what Tony's like. Tony he's fundamentally a nice guy. He's quite showbiz, and he likes all the glam. And I totally get that. I mean, that appalling tweet. I mean, he's worth 100 or 1,000 whoever more.
But if he wasn't on there, he wouldn't get that.
Yeah, true.
But to be fair, though, everyone at QPR loves to tweet because everyone loves to talk about QPR for something. But in fairness, I think in essence, Tony Fernandes is a nice person. I will say that.
Yeah, I don't think anyone would disagree with that.
Everyone will say, but when people start going on Twitter and calling people haters and this, that and the other thing, criticism is not hatred. Criticism is frustration. Criticism can be so many things, but what I hate is a civil war we have after every game, win, lose or draw. It's civil fucking war all the time, and it's ridiculous. Can we not just have a nice, comfortable debate? And I know that's coming from me, and I normally and I will tell people to feck away off if they get me nerves, but
we did actually. We went up a place on Saturday.
Exactly.
You would never. I know it's a bad performance, bad result, bad opposition. We actually went up a place. You would never have guessed that.
But here's the point. We're going to. Sorry, Gabe. I'll go to this quickly. I'm just coming to my head before we do the RSN, which we will.
This is
all right.
This is it.
Is why does this season seem to be so bad? Why are so many people talking about never coming back again next season? Why is it all gone a wee bit wrong? Because ideally, we're not going to go up. We're not going to go down. We spent millions of pounds, but we do that anyway, and we normally get relegated. So it just seems weird why this season seems so negative.
Do you think it's any different, really? I remember Bill Power being on the old Rivals message board, with his cinema analogy. That was a time when we had the great team that we love. People love to moan, and that's rich coming from me. But I'm not overly convinced it's.
But one thing I will say
it's
is
nasty on Twitter in particular. Twitter's a new medium.
The airplane thing was sick.
He gets stuff like that a lot. I mean, that just got a bit of publicity. But when you look at his feed and what people are saying to him, there's a lot of stuff like that. People have mentioned his planes and things to him before.
That's wrong. That's just wrong on every level. Anyway, Matt, what's yours? Ours end of the show.
I think I probably should say something about leadership because I kind of knocked the team, but I kind of think that QPR is great. You know, I think there's a real. You know, it's getting better and better, and I think we should probably give Hasselbank a bit of a chance to be that leader that I've kind of decided to say earlier that we didn't have. And I do think, you know, that's his job, and I think we're at that kind of the rebuild that we've been talking about for the last 2 years since we went down. I think it's happening. I think things are getting better. So that's where I stand. Also, me and Clive have got a mutual friend who supports
Birmingham fan.
Yeah, we only found out tonight, which is pretty good. And so I hope we stuff them on Saturday. So Dave Jackson, if you're listening, which he won't be, but if he is, me and Clive wanted to lose. And we'll see you in the Crown of Sceptre for a jar. So nice.
More than one.
Yeah.
Christopher. Have you? Oh, sorry, Chris.
Yes.
Do you hit big call, Christopher?
It's only my mum calls me when I've been naughty, and as I'm in my 40s now, it doesn't happen that often.
But you have a laugh. Up and out with your drinking. Carry on.
Yeah. Well, I actually would have I mentioned Ali Forlan. The only thing I would add is just to reiterate what I said earlier on. We're not going up, we're not going down, and to get that much hatred out of a insipid 1-1 draw at Bolton when we're not going up, we're not going down, seems a bit odd to me. I just think we've got to just basically coast through to the end of the season, use as many players as we can do, start building for next season, and then judge Hasselbank at Christmas time next season. If we're really struggling, then okay, maybe a few questions need to be asked. But for now, let him get on with his job, and that's it, really.
To be fair, there wasn't at Bolton that many. You'll testify this at Clive. There wasn't that many people calling for his head at Bolton. I don't know where that came from. There's a few people sat at the front singing some Neil Warnock songs, but nobody was calling for Hasselbank's head. I didn't hear any of that.
I'm referring more.
I'm referring to.
I have no idea.
I'm referring more to the
Twitter.
social media stuff.
No, but it was on Twitter, and I'm like, I must have been at the wrong ground because I didn't hear anything.
I didn't hear anything from anybody.
So that's the power of social media, which is what you said. Right. One thing I will say: Sheffield Wednesday tomorrow. We're going to beat them 5-0. We're going to beat Birmingham 7-0. And when Brentford come down, we're going to make up for everything that's wrong with West Ham and Derby's and hammer them 13-0. And I think the nurses give me the right medication. What do you reckon? But what else could go? Seriously, we've got to stage where results don't really matter. But he could maybe try a few young players. The results don't matter anymore.
I agree. I mean, the QPR are a weird team. We'll probably win 1-0 at Sheffield Wednesday, who are the informed team at this.
Well, they got beaten Saturday.
Team at the moment, apart from their loss on Saturday, and we'll lose to Brentford because we haven't won.
No, we won't.
That's 17. I don't think we've won a London derby for 17. In the last 17.
The last London derby was Chelsea away, if I remember rightly.
So,
beat them 1-0.
Yeah.
I vaguely remember that night, Clive, as you know.
Charlton at home was the last time we won a London derby.
Oh, well, let's go back to Chelsea. I prefer that one. Really?
It was 16 games ago, yeah.
Is that Charlton was a factual one then?
Yeah, 1-0.
I'm going with the Chelsea one because I like that one better. Right. Matt, thank you so much. You've been brilliant tonight, and thanks for joining us. And Clive, as always, you're a joy to have on the show, and your positivity and
radiates across,
your smile
across the airwaves.
You could light a room up in any way you come into it. Said no one. And
I was going to take that.
Chris,
yes,
as always, as founders,
yes, indeed.
Thanks for joining me.
No, thanks for having me.
And listen, thanks for listening to Open All Hours. Please support us in whatever way you can, and talk about us on Twitter, because we do like to talk to people, especially David Fraser. He likes all your abuse, seriously. And Saturday, tomorrow night we're going to win. Saturday we're going to win, but can get some atmosphere back at Rangers. Come on, guys, let's make the place rock. This has been Open All Hours.
The QPR podcast is sponsored by Excel Environmental, a pest control company based in Northolt and the South East. They provide for all your pest control needs, along with bird control, hazardous waste removal and ground maintenance. And they're Rangers fans, so if you call them on 0845 11 666 11, mention our podcast for a 10% discount.
Hello, I am Gabriel Maylard. I am one of the producers of AK90s as well as the QPR podcast. And I just wanted to tell you guys about my new podcast. It's called Going Somewhere, and it's at GoingPod on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. It's about journeys, travel, and stuff. This week I spoke to Danny Boyle, so if you want to give us a listen, please do. We're Going Somewhere podcast on SoundCloud and iTunes, and we're at GoingPod on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Cheers.
QPR, Green Park Rangers.